Thank you for tuning in to this video. It's going to be much different than the other videos on my channel. It's going to be raw, unpolished, and a heart-to-heart transmission of what's alive for me right now, and also an exciting glimpse into what lies ahead for both myself and for you, who's obviously a part of my community in one way or another, especially if you've enjoyed my other videos and the things that I have to say. So as some of you are aware, I'm in Mexico right now, and this was not planned. Basically, 2 weeks ago, I got a direct bodily hit to come to Mexico and do this within 5 days. So uproot my life from Salt Spring Island on BC and travel down to Mexico for I don't even know how long, but I do know that this is preparing me for a silent retreat that I'm doing in Costa Rica next month with the amazing Allison Alchemia, who you may have seen me do a workshop with and a couple interviews on this channel. Why do I want to do this? Well, I'm a reflector in human design, and that means when I polish my mirrors, I become a conduit for what's alive in the collective. And my deep desire right now is to listen to the heartbeat of the earth in order to receive and embody the next layer of the divine process of evolution so that I can serve my role without any self-aggrandizement or any ego. And stripping away these layers of ego, it's not always a fun process. And so I need to do this in silence, in stillness, in a place where I can just let those layers dissolve off. Because where I'm heading is moving beyond just relying on skill sets. I've done many things in my lifetime, as you may or may not have known. I've met a lot of really interesting people, but what's being called on this time is to move from a place beyond that, moving from a place of pure invention that's happening in real time. So this is an essential process. And since December of last year, I've known that 2025 was going to be a really big energetic year for the collective. And we're seeing this playing out all around us. Western civilization right now is being dismantled at breakneck speed, and the rate at which the illusions are coming up and out and playing their game has never been faster, at least not in my lifetime. And I've been, aware of these things for the good part of 30 years now. Since I was a teenager, I saw all of this playing out. And so, like I was saying, as a reflector, and knowing that role and embodying that, I need to keep my inner mirrors polished so that I can aptly speak into what's going on in a neutral, unbiased, and clear way without any preconceived notions or distortions. Right now, what I can say is there's a tremendous amount of energy moving through the intelligence of the solar plexus, which is right here on the body, on a collective level. And the solar plexus is the second ring of power, the gut brain, our psycho-emotional makeup that governs or gatekeeps how open our heart is. A lot of people think that everything comes from the heart, but what controls the quality of the heart space? It's actually governed by the solar plexus, especially if you're familiar with any of Richard Rudd's material or, Ra Uru, who talks about this in human design, the importance of the solar plexus that often gets overlooked. And one of the things I can say is that when the emotional body gets locked up or trauma and unprocessed emotions get jammed up into the solar plexus, it causes the heart to shut down. And a lot of people think, well, I got to be more in my heart, but then they can't because they haven't actually resolved the mechanism that allows the heart to open. So when the solar plexus is clear, then basically we return to a felt sense awareness and response pattern with life. The way that emotions are meant to work is much like a wave function. So some sort of a trigger will happen outside of us, and it creates a reverberation of reverb in the body. So there's a wave that travels through the body that informs us of what to do. Now, the problem is if we're already jammed up with unprocessed emotions and our mind isn't managed properly, it starts to trigger things that are not really relevant to that particular impulse and then attach and overlay a story to it. So therefore, when big events happen, we often feel overwhelmed or we collapse or we respond inappropriately to what's actually needed in the moment. And really, with the magnitude of things that are happening right now, it's very important for us to be clear and receiving proper emotional information from the events that are playing out around us. I can say this, that in the coming age, we're not going to be able to rely on some of the strategies that we have in the past. In fact, this coming age formally begins in 2027, but we're seeing the crescendo towards it now, and we're going to see it continuing to strengthen and play out past 2027. But really, what's going to be instrumental are the ones who have allowed their higher bodies to fully step into their human biological instrument, or the body-mind complex. And what I mean by that is the subtle layers of us, people might say it's the soul. Well, there's actually multiple layers that I teach in multidimensional health. There's the soul, the oversoul, the avatar of who we are, and our own sort of essential self. And when these lock in perfectly with our human biological instrument, we become proper conduits for the divine, and we sort of burn off any interference, and there's no room for other entities or astral parasites to attach to us because we've plugged ourself into ourself. And there's no gaps. There's no more receptors left for other things to latch onto. And this is really important because I feel a lot of people in spirituality, they start playing with higher dimensional energies and they start letting in things that trick them, things that are clever, and things that appear good at first and then over time create problems. It's like a seduction in a way. I see this a lot with people who channel. They don't really have much discernment over who or what they're channeling. And as a result of that, they end up becoming overtaken by entities that have some not so nice agendas associated with them. So what we really want to do is we want to be able to work through the lower centers, starting with the solar plexus, moving down to the sacral and the root, and bring our higher bodies in there. That's where we actually materialize things. That's where we actually see changes in the external world because we've worked with the material layers of our being. So when we engage a process such as quantum rebalancing, where we reconnect with these higher bodies of ours and we begin to make any adjustments or corrections to bring them back into balance, we then need to step down that influence through the layers, through the holographic layer, the genetic layer, the light body layer, into the physical body so that it rests in and it sits in our physical body. That's where it becomes a real process. Some people do better by first aligning intellectually with this, and that's very helpful for, that's where trifecta and astrology and human design can be very effective because they show you your unique blueprint and they get the mind on board first. And that's for people who are more intellectually driven. Others don't really need that intellectual sort of validation and they're ready to just jump right in. And for them, they get sort of energetic processes and somatic processes that allow this to just happen. One isn't better than the other. It's a very personal realization of what's correct for you as an individual, whether you need a bit of that external validation from astrology. And it's not just external validation, by the way. It's you working with it and you actually getting the intellectual center on board first. And by getting the intellectual center on board, it actually reconfigures the nervous system. It actually locks you in with a vision of your own potential. And then all of a sudden, things like changing habits and exiting relationships and money become much easier to deal with. And that's why, and other people, they don't necessarily need the intellectual center. They're more somatically oriented. So they're more about how they feel and they move from a felt sense awareness already. They just need the recalibrations to be done in order to feel the right way to make the things happen. This has been something I've been noticing in my own one-on-one offerings. I've been doing a tremendous amount of one-on-one sessions the last few months, and I've just been watching as people have been making huge leaps as there's a more seamless transition to embodying and correcting some of the imbalances in their foundation and their frame, and that they're able to come into this living embodiment of divinity much easier. They're able to experience the totality of who they really are without any interference. And it's pretty wild. I didn't expect to see this. I was just doing my work and all of a sudden it started up leveling. And as a result of this, I've had to make some serious considerations. And one of them is that I'm actually restructuring the way that I work with people moving forward, also to make space for some of the bigger projects that are exciting that I'm going to tell you about in a little bit. But my one-on-one sessions will be changing in the future to honor the potency of the work and honor the energy and support that goes into them. So basically, to really hone in and make that time with people much more effective, but also to give space for myself by working with fewer people. I can work more intentionally, and also I can commit to some of these other projects that are super exciting. But before any of this happens, I just want to let you know that I'm giving plenty of notice. And I'm also offering temporarily a special on my one-on-ones for the rest of April for those that feel the call to illuminate their life path in 2025 and beyond through astrology and human design, or people who know that they need deeper quantum rebalancing and embodiment work to really kind of get all the layers of themselves in congruence and become that divine conduit that they feel inside but may not be experiencing on a day-to-day level. So if you're interested and you're feeling the call right now, I do have a link to that special for April. It's in the description below. If you're watching this after April, I will have a link to my offerings at that time, but they will be structured differently. So what I was saying with the one-on-ones is that I'm actually shifting to more of a different nature of work. There's two really cool projects that I'm involved in. One of them is a leadership role within a team that is ushering in new decentralized communities of the future, conscious communities. You know, the thing that I've been seeing and dreaming of since I was 21, it's finally happening here. And these guys have the whole legal, financial, governance framework worked out. And not only that, but they also include a rite of passage or the personal work required to bring people into maturity to explore a new culture. You know, there's been a lot of eco-villages and a lot of attempts over time that have been short-sighted because it's a lot of the time they've just been people trying to run away from their 3D world problems and try to create sort of a 5D utopia without reconciling the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And so by including the purification processes, the rites of passage, we can ensure that the people that come are prepared for this and set up in a way where it's not about hierarchy, but it's more about attunement to the values of pure transparency, of sovereignty, of freedom, of a universal brotherhood and sisterhood, and really seeing each other as equals. That's really important. And also living in symbiosis with nature and living from a place of greater and greater levels of awareness of what our role is as human beings in the cosmic hierarchy. So you can see, this is a pretty big project. So interestingly enough, one of the guys that I'm working with, he was a professional football player and a client of mine 3 years ago who basically quit the NFL and traveled America in his van. And he was basically doing a lot of breath work, studying Jungian psychology, and really came in resonance with this process of rite of passage. And from his career in football, that is a rite of passage. So it wasn't just a physical one, though. He learned to incorporate a spiritual one. So I helped him with this project back 3 years ago. And then from there, it's metamorphosized into what we have today, which is this collective, essentially. And the interesting thing, too, is that there's a new financial model associated with this as well, where there's wealth creation by using some of the strategies of the elite that they do and offering this to the everyday person. So you guys may remember my crypto days 3 years ago. I really got hot on crypto. Unfortunately, what happened at that time was I was running a community that had over 400 people. I was doing customer support all alone. I was training people one-on-one. My daughter was just born, and I was trying to keep up on the crypto markets, but I was just completely juggling way too many things. So naturally, when the market started to go into decline, I was kind of ill-equipped to stay on top of things. I tried my best to communicate and help people, but unfortunately that initial foray into crypto, it was a little too premature. And I didn't have the support necessary to actualize what needed to happen. So I always knew that there was something with crypto beyond the meme coins, beyond the, the hype that was possible to create decentralization. But I didn't exactly know what that looked like until I met the team that I'm affiliated with now. I shouldn't even say affiliated. I'm part of the leadership team, because it's not just about crypto or finance. It's actually about creating a completely new financial model that is sequestered from any fallout that might happen in the fiat world, and to also create wealth generation for future communities. And really, that's what their value system is being able to funnel this money into the creation of these decentralized communities. So in a way, it's like taking money out of the old system to build the new. Now, I'm not advertising for this yet. I'm just letting you guys know what I'm involved in, so you can see the scale of work that's happening, and also to the way that working in a team, naturally, you have people with certain areas of expertise that come together. And when they come together and they pool all their independent areas of expertise, one person's really good at running the algorithms to optimize the investment mechanism. One person's really good with the sovereign legal aspect to extricate ourselves and build trusts and remove ourselves from the system, from the incorporated identity of Admiralty Maritime Law. And somebody else will be handling the purification. It's more of my role. Somebody else the rites of passage. Somebody else the growing of food. And that's really where it takes a village to create something like this. So I'm just letting you guys know now, this is what's coming down in the future. And this is probably the work of 2 or 3 years. So around 2027 or so, this will probably be all rolling out on a much more formal level. Until then, there may be other opportunities, and I will keep you guys posted on that. So what I want to say here, though, is that none of this is a game anymore, and it certainly isn't just a lofty idea. The times we're in, they kind of require this to happen. If I really sit back, and I've thought about what the future is, it isn't about just electing another political party or forming a new political party. We need a completely new culture that steps outside the current Western paradigm and builds according to enlightened principles in a symbiosis with nature, uses the advanced technologies of individuals like Nikola Tesla, Royal Rife, and holistic medicine, combined with advancements in diagnostic medicine, to basically rehabilitate the trauma that the masses have suffered. And it's not just the masses. All of us to a degree have suffered this. Even the ones of us who have tried to remove ourselves from the system, there's still layers of our genetics that are impacted by this. So this is a pretty huge step in the direction of creating a new earth culture, giving birth to it, that is going to be based on sustainability, longevity, and resilience, which is going to be a much bigger departure from a lot of the eco-village experiments that we've seen so far. The second thing, though, that I want to talk about, this is really cool. This is happening much sooner. This is already sort of landed. It's going to be the culmination of trifecta, quantum rebalancing, and a luxury retreat on Salt Spring Island, where I currently reside now, when I'm not in Mexico. It's at basically the most premier retreat center on the island, called Lightwater Cove, where they grow their own food. They have their own local catering that actually prepares the food with the land, and it's basically immersed in nature on the ocean. And I went there and I visited. Everything in there is handcrafted. There's nothing toxic. It's a completely non-toxic environment to basically be immersed in what I would call eco-luxury, West Coast eco-luxury. So what we're offering here, and I'm offering this with Jade Sundari and Aniko Fish, who runs the Therify LA clinic, it isn't just a wellness retreat. It's a total personal recalibration through frequency, through stillness, and through, intentional movement as well, and holistic rehabilitation, aimed at helping those who feel the call, those who feel that burning desire that they're potentially a new earth leader. If they're already living that, or they just hear the call for it, this is really an opportunity to step in fully and do this work. And I can't do it alone, which is why I'm bringing in the best talent that I know, who are these incredible women that are, I know, already from having collaborated with them. We work so well together. It's not just a collaboration, it's truly a synergy when the three of us come together, because we can address all layers that need to be addressed, from the quantum all the way down through the physical. And we're using, regenerative technology in conjunction with natural alignment, in conjunction with, time-tested practices. So this is really the culmination of many years of my own preparation. The details are still being finalized, but if you're watching this video and you want to kind of get a sneak peek of what's going on with both the space and what this retreat will entail, what the programming looks like, there is a link in the description below where I've prepared a little presentation on what we have in store. And also I am offering a big special discount for this for those who hear the call now and want to commit as early adopters for this incredible retreat, and potentially the 6-month container that goes with it, where we really embody and we really work through the deeper processes. So the retreat is meant to work hand in hand with the 6-month container to create a total transformation in your life and to fully help you land those higher bodies into your lower one and get rock solid clear on your vision, so that you have all your multidimensional capabilities available to meet the demands of the future. So, from this perspective of our service and what we need to do and what we're up against, we need those multidimensional faculties to help us. We need to be able to project out on future timelines and see, where does this lead? What's the probability of this? We also need the ability to have claircognizance and just know things and directly data stream from these higher intelligence banks. That's what AI is trying to do. That's what AI attempts to simulate, is accessing these large learning models. Well, nature's large learning model is streaming right from the oversoul group that you're connected to, the hologram of your higher self. So a lot of big stuff happening here. And this is truly what I believe to be at the cutting edge of consciousness and where things are at in 2025. And in order for me to do this and work in this way, I've got to prepare myself, which is why I'm going into silence first. So thank you for watching this live update, hearing what is alive for me right now from my heart, rather unpolished. And I'm just really excited for the future. And I'm even excited to do the work to alchemize what it takes to get there. So more than anything, I hope that my words have inspired you. I hope hearing about what I'm doing brings you inspiration to do similar things in your own way and to make those bold moves that are needed at this time. All right, take care.